Oh, well, fine then. Let's take a trip.
Shotgun! Don't let anything happen to Joe.
California, here we come.
With her new film, Bonneville, Jessica Lange has made a road movie with a twist.
Have you ever been to the Salt Flats? No.
You don't see a lot of movies these days with 3 middle-aged women in the lead.
Really?
Luscious. Oh, loser.
So when I saw it, I thought, oh my, this is a movie about 3 women. Wow. This is extraordinary.
We're not driving all the way to California in this thing.
Joe had this thing overhauled just last month. She's as good as new.
In the film, out this week, Lange plays a grieving widow who drives cross-country with her friends, Kathy Bates and Joan Allen.
Puppies! Oh, expect chicken soup?
It was, she says, a rare role to savor.
I think there are less films for women now than 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly less films for women my age.
Did you feel that happen? I mean,
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's tricky. It's like any kind of aging. It kind of slips up on you until one moment, you know, you catch a glimpse of yourself in like a plate glass window and you think, who the hell is that person? You know?
That person is an actress audiences have now known for 3 decades.
Hi. Hi. What a pretty outfit.
Yeah.
Through films like Tootsie, for which Lange won her first Academy Award in 1982.
There are a lot of men out there. I'm selective. I look around very carefully. And when I find the one I think can give me the worst possible time, that's when I make my move.
She picked up her second Oscar for Best Actress a dozen years later,
Look at this, Hank. Look at this.
playing an emotionally troubled housewife in Blue Sky.
I'm not gonna live here, Hank! I hate this place!
are you still excited about making movies?
Yeah. You know, I have to say that working on Great Gardens reignited some passion that I hadn't felt for quite a long time.
Lange has also just finished shooting Grey Gardens with Drew Barrymore,
This is the best thing to wear for the day. You understand.
a movie inspired by this 1975 documentary about Edith Bouvier Beale and her daughter Edie, 2 eccentric cousins of Jackie Kennedy.
You play a part, in this case, where you age 40 years in the film.
Yeah. And I sing and I dance.
You sing.
I sing, which I have never done. I barely can sing Happy Birthday in a family gathering.
I fall to pieces.
In Sweet Dreams, Lange played country singer Patsy Cline,
You want me to act.
but she lip-synced the songs. Cline, like so many of Lange's roles, was a complicated woman.
You want your dinner? Here, why don't you eat it now?
You've played a lot of characters, quote unquote, on the edge. And that's something you're drawn to, right?
Yeah, I like those characters. There's something so human about struggling to kind of hold on.
As an actress, Lange likes to take risks.
How do you get to that place?
I think you really have to give up this concern about what people are going to think of you.
But you've had it seems, from the beginning. Why has that always been there?
I think that was instilled in me as a child, the thing about being brave, trying to be brave at least.
Lange was raised in towns across the rugged plains of northern Minnesota.
I remember as a child the sense of yearning being so powerful that it was like a physical pain.
Did you know what you were yearning for?
I couldn't tell, but I knew it wasn't there.
After graduating from high school in Cloquet, Minnesota, where she was known as Jess, Lange enrolled as an art student at the University of Minnesota. But at age 18, she ran off to Europe, studied mime in Paris, and married her photography instructor at age 20.
When I look back on those years from like 18 to about 25, every year it was like I was in Spain, I was in South America, I was in Amsterdam, I was in Paris. It was like so volcanic those years.
The marriage wouldn't last. Lang settled in New York, took up modeling, and flirted with acting. That led to her breakthrough audition, a chance to play King Kong's love interest.
Nice, sweet monkey.
She got the part, but the blockbuster was a bomb with critics.
I'm a Libra. What sign are you?
And Lang's performance was widely panned.
I bet you're an Aries, aren't you? Of course you are. I just knew it.
The only review that remains in my mind is Pauline Kael, because I thought, oh, well, that's good. She liked me at least.
It was 3 years before Lang acted in a film again, playing the Angel of Death in Bob Fosse's All That Jazz.
Come on.
Then she heated up the screen with Jack Nicholson in The Postman Always Rings Twice.
Tell me, did you sign something against me?
Afterwards, Nicholson famously described his co-star as a cross between a fawn and a Buick.
Overruled.
When Jack talks about the Buick, that's what it is. There is a certain kind of steadfastness, maybe, sturdiness.
Do you feel steadfast and sturdy?
No. That could then you get to the fawn part, which is kind of like the deer in the headlights. No.
And then I've read that you said that you were, and these are your words, interested in very big men, not physically but emotionally.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked, I've always kind of liked madmen. I've always liked madmen, artists, and poets.
There was director and choreographer Bob Fosse, then ballet star Mikhail Baryshnikov, with whom she has a daughter, Alexandra.
Aren't you the smoothie? I suppose now you're going to ask for my number?
No, I suppose not.
And while filming Frances in 1982, she fell in love with her leading man, Sam Shepard. They've been together ever since. While the couple has 2 children, they've never married. What brought you back to New York?
Well,
After years of living in Virginia and Minnesota, she and Shepard have moved back to the city where her career began.
I always intended to live in New York. It was just I was on hiatus for about 25 years raising children.
But all 3 of her children are now off at school or out of the house, and motherhood is playing more of a supporting role.
Now I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do you do to fill that?
So what are you going to do?
I don't know. I'm working on it.
For now, Lang has returned to an old love, photography. This fall, a book of her pictures will be published.
You proud of it?
I am. I like them. Yeah. It's rare for me to say that I like anything that I do. So
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm a very harsh self-critic, but I think they're okay. I think they're marginally better than my singing. I'll make the arrangements. It's my treat. Rodeo drive, here I come.
At 58, Jessica Lang is still eager to take risks.
Carol's had an adventure.
After all, they've usually paid off.
At this point, what am I worried about my career? What's worked has worked, what hasn't. It is what it is.
You hang on to me, Joker, best way you can. We're getting out of here.
Sidney Poitier's life has been a series of firsts. In 1959, he was the first black man nominated for an Oscar as Best Actor for his role of an escaped convict alongside Tony Curtis.
Kiss me again.
He was the first black man to kiss a white woman in a movie.
God is good. He has sent me a big, strong man.
He didn't say anything to me about sending me any place. I was just passing by.
And when he won the Best Actor Oscar in 1964,
It is a long journey to this moment.
he was not only the first black actor to do so, he remained the only one till 2002. After starring in over 50 movies, Poitier says his career choices were less about being first and more about the image of his characters. You wouldn't play anybody who was immoral? Cruel? No?
No. If you go through my career, you'll find that I didn't ever.
His typical character was dignified, proud, and ethical.
Well, you're pretty sure of yourself, ain't you, Virgil? Virgil, that's a funny name for a boy that comes from Philadelphia. What do they call you up there?
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Take Virgil Tibbs, a Philadelphia homicide detective who reluctantly helps a small-town police chief in Mississippi, played by Rod Steiger, solve a murder.
Why'd you two come here? To ask you about Mr. Colbert.
But before signing on to play the role, Poitier asked the movie studio for a major script change to this scene.
Was Mr. Colbert ever in this greenhouse, say last night about midnight?
I said, if he slaps me, I'm going to slap him back. You will put on paper that the studio agrees that the film will be shown nowhere in the world with me standing there taking the slap.
God, you had this written into the contract.
That's right.
You saw it. I saw it. Well, what are you going to do about it? I don't know.
And of course, it is one of the great moments in all of film, when you slap him back.
Yes. I knew that I would have been insulting every black person in the world.
The youngest of 7 children, Sidney was born 3 months premature while his Bahamian parents were in Miami to sell tomatoes. Uncertain whether he would survive, his dad purchased a tiny casket while his mother consulted a palm reader.
The lady took her hand and started speaking to my mother. And she said, "Don't worry about your son. He will survive. He will walk with kings."
Sidney lived in the Bahamas until the age of 15, when his parents, afraid he was on a path to delinquency, sent him back to Miami to live with his older brother. But at 16, Sidney left for New York, where he tried his hand at acting, even though he had had only 2 years of schooling. Okay, here's my big question. You couldn't read. You had a very thick Bahamian accent.
I did.
And you decide to try and become an actor?
I did.
Why did you go that route? It kind of makes no sense.
I had no way of knowing that there is a madness to what I'm trying to do.
After a disastrous audition with the American Negro Theater, where Poitier could barely read the script, an act of kindness at his job as a dishwasher changed his life.
One of the waiters, a Jewish guy, elderly man. I had a newspaper, and he walked over to me, and he looked at me, and he said, "What's new in the paper?" And I looked up at this man, and I said to him, "I can't tell you what's up in the paper." I said, "because I can't read very well." He said, "Let me ask you something. Would you like me to read with you?"
Wow.
I said to him, "Yes, if you like." Now let me tell you something. Every night, the place is closed, Everyone's gone. And he sat there with me, week after week after week. I learned a lot. And then things began to happen.
Like landing an acting apprenticeship with the very same theater company that had laughed him out of his audition. There, Poitier learned alongside actors like Ruby Dee, Ossie Davis, and Harry Belafonte.
What's the big idea? What are you going to do now?
Look, I'm trying to help your brother. Why don't you just shut up?
You watch yourself, black boy. Watch how you talk to me.
Just shut up.
And then in 1950, he was cast in his first starring role in a movie, in No Way Out.
Okay, Sambo. This is it.
He played a doctor facing overt racism from a prisoner, played by Richard Widmark.
Please help me.
No.
Look, he's sick. He's crazy. He's everything you said. But I can't kill a man just because he hates me.
From the beginning of his career, Poitier insisted that he portray men who were upright, well-educated, and often stronger of character than the white people around him.
I did not go into the film business to be symbolized as someone else's vision of me. If the screen does not make room for me in the structure of their screenplay, I step back. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
In 1967, Sidney Poitier was among the top 10 Hollywood moneymakers.
All right, take your seat.
And a top 10 leading man. In that 1 year alone, he starred in To Sir with Love.
You take care.
In the Heat of the Night.
Mom.
And Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
This is John.
With Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn.
Dr. Prentice, I'm so pleased to meet you.
I'm pleased to meet you, Mrs. Drayton.
But that year, he began to face criticism from some in the African American community who labeled him an Uncle Tom for the purity of his roles.
And it didn't hurt you?
Hurt me for what? I just simply say, I live by a certain code. I have to have a certain amount of decency in my behavioral pattern. I have to have that.
Mungo's late from New York, huh?
That's right.
In the 1970s, Poitier turned to directing. And surprisingly, the actor who so often personified elegance, grace, and earnestness
Give me a light.
He wanted a light.
directed comedies with slapstick.
Don't. Oh, shit!
In the 1980s, he turned to writing books, producing 3 autobiographies. And when we spoke in 2013, Sidney Poitier, then 86 years old, had just written a novel.
I was not intending to make an impression. I was finding release for myself within myself. I was looking for who I am at this point in my life.
Did you find out?
Somewhat, yes.
Who are you?
I'm a good person.
She sings. If they could see me now, my little dusty fruit. She dances. She acts.
Don't you realize I'm a grandmother?
And no wonder.
Why'd your mom name you Shirley?
Because on the way to the hospital, Shirley Temple was starring in a movie, and they said, let's name her Shirley. I mean, there's no way I could have been anything different than I am.
So maybe she was destined to be a star, shining in scores of films. And it's no secret that Shirley MacLaine believes in destiny, in UFOs, and reincarnation. She even believes she knew her dog in a past life.
She sits with me and she tells me when to go eat and she gives me ideas.
There are lots of ideas. MacLaine has written 12 books, most of them bestsellers.
You know, you have so much going on in your life at all times, it seems. You keep traveling the world. You're traveling in time. You're a writer.
That's good, Rita. I like that.
You're an advocate for interaction with visitors from out of space. How do you get it all done?
It's my jewelry. I get the intense health and energy from my jewelry.
Yes, at 74, her latest project is designing her own jewelry line, produced in her adopted hometown of Santa Fe.
It's all really made here in New Mexico, huh?
Yes, made right in this little room.
She calls it Sky Chakra Jewelry, with gemstones in the 7 colors of the ancient chakra system and the rainbow. Just the latest chapter in a storybook career that began when she burst onto the Broadway stage while still a teenager, understudying Carol Haney, a star of Pajama Game who'd sprained her ankle.
I was ready to go on that night in my little chorus part, and there's Bob Fosse, Hal Prince, George Abbott, etc., looking ashen across the stage door entrance and said, "You're on."
She was a smash, and soon it was on to the movies. By the time she was 30, Shirley MacLaine had racked up 3 Oscar nominations.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself scaring a poor little dog like that.
For Irma La Douce, The Apartment,
I just have this talent for falling in love with the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
and Some Came Running.
You'll miss the bestest pal.
Frank Sinatra personally picked her to play the party girl who falls for his character.
What do you think it was about you that cut through on the screen?
Probably the sincerity of the character. And if I didn't hit on that understanding of her and let her be who she wanted to be, it doesn't work.
Though she won kudos for playing some loose women over the years, like Sweet Charity, MacLaine insists she has never exuded sexuality on screen.
I tell you the truth, if I had to play a part where I was the sexual vixen, oh man, I don't know what I would do. I don't think I could play it. I had no problem being cute. Being, how shall I say, erotically sexual, that's embarrassing to me.
Well, how about in real life?
That's a different story.
In real life, she married film producer Steve Parker. They had a daughter, Sachi, 2 years later. But though she was married for 30 years, Shirley MacLaine says she was never a traditional wife or mother.
He lived in Japan, and we had this open marriage.
And why did you feel like you wanted to be in a marriage?
So I wouldn't marry anybody else. I'm not one of those people that should be married.
There were many lovers over the years, and lots of famous friends who lined MacLaine's wall of life in her Santa Fe home.
Not everybody has Dennis Kucinich and Jack Nicholson on their wall.
Oh, I
This is great.
And not everybody has pictures of a little brother who also grew up to be a superstar.
This is me when I was little. This is Warren and me. He at the piano.
As in Warren Beatty.
Look, everybody asks this all the time, but what's your relationship with your brother like now?
You know, we grew up like this. We played all day, all night, but I am 3 years older. So I consider myself the senior citizen and wiser of the two. That's just the fact. And he sometimes disagrees with me. But we're close enough to understand our differences.
So you talk now and then?
Oh no, all the time.
MacLaine says her brother was one of the first to congratulate her on her portrayal of Aurora Greenway, Deborah Winger's mom, in terms of endearment.
All she has to
It earned McLean her first Oscar after 6 nominations, but it wasn't a happy set.
I quit.
You quit in the middle?
Oh, yes, I quit. And I said, as I walked off the set, you can take this Oscar, I'm not going to win now, and shove it up your keister. I'm leaving.
She came back, of course.
When you got the Oscar, you said, I deserve it.
Yeah, I did. Big time. This is Aurora's dining room table.
She also decided she deserved to keep the dining room set from Terms of Endearment. But the best souvenir...
This is the Oscar. It's heavy.
It's heavy.
You can lift it.
Can I pick it
You're
up?
very frail, but you can lift it. I would deserve that on so many levels. Let's move on.
Moving on, you might say, is Shirley MacLaine's mantra. Though her out-of-this-world beliefs have been scoffed at in some quarters, that doesn't faze her a bit.
You've said that your past lives include being a pirate, a Buddhist monk, a Peruvian Inca boy, a Mongolian girl, and being someone from the lost continent of Atlantis. What makes you so sure about all this?
I'm not sure.
You're not?
No, it's a belief. I can't say I'm sure about anything. I did go through quite a bit of past life therapy because I loved the adventure of the journey of my soul. I loved seeing what I might have been. I was tracked down by AARP to come here.
And these days, Shirley MacLaine has become the guru of growing old with grace and gusto.
I now feel like I have heart knowledge where I can more readily practice acceptance, responsibility, and kindness every day, even when I want to be basically so cranky.
Let's go.
And frankly, nothing seems to slow her down.
So if you had to sum up Shirley MacLaine, who she is, write me a headline, Shirley MacLaine. Oh no. That's my phone too.
That's good enough.
I'm
That's
so
good
embarrassed.
enough. That's fine. I'm a musical comedy performer who dabbles in spirituality and jewelry. Everything will be all right.
So humiliated.
No.
Robin Williams has never failed to make an impression. First, as a manic extraterrestrial. From Mork and Mindy to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Hello! Good morning, Vietnam!
From Good Morning Vietnam.
Why'd she leave you? Was she,
to Good Will Hunting.
If you ever disrespect my wife again, I will end you.
Mr. Williams has loomed large in our on-screen consciousness.
And the way they have that whole thing, too. Male cats have that amazing thing where they're kind of walking around going, that's mine.
Yet, we never not think of him
Mine!
as a stand-up comedian.
Thank God men aren't like that. Hey, nice car, Bob. Mine now.
And now, at 59, the Juilliard-trained Williams is making his Broadway acting debut, playing the tiger in Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo.
I'm not gonna lie. When I get hungry, I get stupid. 12 years back, I screwed up, okay? I followed a scent, I took a bite, and then flip! A tranquilizer dart comes from out of nowhere, and I wake up in Baghdad. Sweet ass! So that was depressing.
The play and Williams have received strong reviews.
It's not an easy play.
No, not meant to be.
Right. If people come to Broadway thinking they're going to see Robin Williams.
They're coming to see Mork, wrong night. Imagine, it's your everyday routine. You go out to grab a bite and then whack.
The tiger bites off the hand of an American soldier, gets killed, and comes back as a ghost.
And now that I'm dead, I'm a ghost. It's why aren't I gone?
A ghost in an existential crisis.
It's alarming, this life after death. The fact is, tigers are atheists.
As he starts off, he gets awareness
then a consciousness, and then a conscience, and then bitterness, and then nihilist, and then returns to primal feral Buddhism. So it's not a bad journey.
When an atheist suddenly finds himself walking around after death, he's got some serious reevaluating to do.
And though there is dark humor, it is a play about war. It's chaos. It's fallout.
Understand? What don't I am an artist! I am an artist!
Sometimes it touches something very deep in people. Sometimes when I finish the play, you're devastated. But yet you have to go, and now take a bow. Thank you all. Thank you, this has been wonderful. God bless, you like me, you really like me. But it's that thing of sometimes it hits you.
It is territory Williams knows well.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah, Baghdad striptease, I'm gonna start with this.
He's been to Iraq and Afghanistan numerous times with the USO to entertain the troops.
We have the lovely Lake Kaka over there. The Pupon Pond.
Why do you go do those shows?
They're the best audience in the world.
They're happy to see you, I bet.
I was kind of shocked and then happy, kind of like, what's up? And they all said, you want to fire off a gun? I went, no, I'm okay.
You're the best, you're incredible.
This past Christmas, he traveled to an outpost deep in the heart of Afghanistan.
And they were like, going, what's Mort doing here? It was kind of fun. You flew in an Osprey, which that alone is kind of wow. It's a helicopter, it's a plane, it's a helicopter. What is it? Make a decision. And you land, and it's like, okay, thank you. You get off the plane, go, that was very nice. It was a touch loud.
Robin Williams can't help being funny.
Elvis, Viva Viagra.
His brain runs nonstop. Name a subject, he will find the humor.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, he wants to see Obama's birth certificate. I want to see his hairline. Your call, Coach. I mean, everyone's just going, really? I mean, my theory is that the hair is actually the Donald. That it's like some alien creature that landed years ago. Who's the bald guy?
Royal wedding.
Big time. It's almost like the United Magic Kingdom now. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Please stay with your group. Don't be afraid. All that money and no dental plan. How sad.
One of the great riffing opportunities of our time is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm thinking they should open a club called Club Fled for all these dictators who leave and they have a place to go, you know. And
Autocrats Anonymous.
Yeah, call now. Hello, my name is Mohammed. Welcome, Omar. I feel I'm powerless. Not really, but doing. Hi, it's been 12 days since I've killed someone. Welcome.
Who would be Gaddafi's sponsor?
Charlie Sheen. At that point, even he was going, I'm not that nuts. I don't, this with tiger's blood. Who are you? Get a life.
We're lucky Robin Williams himself is still around. Several years ago, he went into rehab and had major heart surgery. It saved his life.
And I found out I had a bad heart because they did an echocardiogram and my heartbeat was like...
He turned the experience into a special for HBO called Weapons of Self-Destruction.
And they started offering me choices about what type of valves I can get. And here are some of my choices. Number one, a porcine valve, which is a pig valve, which is kind of cool because you're already inoculated for swine flu, number one. And one of the side effects is you can find truffles, which is kind of cool.
He ended up choosing a cow valve.
How is your heart, by the way?
Going well. I mean, the cow valve is interesting. It's crazy. I don't eat much meat because all of a sudden my body's going, it's one of us. Don't do that.
On the cusp of 60 and still going strong, Robin Williams is happy and thankful.
Do you look at the world differently at 59?
I mean, I just take it a little bit slow. I'm traveling at the speed of life right now. It's nicer just to say, you got the gig, you know, you got the play, wonderful, wonderful fiance, have a great life. Just enjoy it, you know. There's no rush.
Come on.
There's a trail on Gene Hackman's land.
Come on, let's go.
It winds down a mountain and through time.
Almost without exception, every time I walk this path, I think about people who were here, 200 years ago. Can you get it? Come on.
The history of the place appeals to him. So does the fact that his home outside Santa Fe, New Mexico, is 1,000 miles or so from Hollywood. Here, between movies, he can live his life in private.
That is some thick steel, too, you know?
Dan Lenehan is one of the world's experts on underwater archaeology.
That's magnifying it for you, right?
And no stranger to CBS News.
Now, let us pay a reverent visit to a quiet place.
He guided Charles Perrault through the wreck of the USS Arizona during commemorations in 1991, marking the 50th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor.
We never entered this place, this area, out of respect for the fact that the Arizona is a tomb, is a grave.
So how does this thing drive?
His office is in Santa Fe, about as far from the ocean as Gene Hackman's house is from Hollywood.
I'm not a natural diver.
But it was in Santa Fe they became friends,
Spit of land.
and diving was what brought them together. Here in the Dry Tortugas.
You can see what's part of the history, the battle down.
One day they got to talking about adventure books they liked as boys. And that's when the idea of writing one came up.
And I think I said, well, how about a pirate story? I started realizing that Gene might be serious about this. And I said, well, okay, well, you first then. Let's see what you would do.
What began as sort of a dare not only got written, it got published. The Wake of the Perdido Star, an old-fashioned historical novel, a sea adventure set in 1805, complete with pirates and shipwrecks, and a happy ending. Even though they live in the same town, they worked separately at home.
Bunny.
With all the usual distractions. Gene Hackman wrote his chapters longhand in spiral notebooks. Unorthodox to say the least, their method was a little like the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. Picking different starting points, they met in the middle in this case being the Cloudcliff Cafe.
I would have some pages. He would have some pages. We would trade. We'd read them over while we were ordering and eating, and by the end of the couple of hours, we would have critiqued each other's work and decided where we were going to go from there. Talk was scarce as the sailors prepared. Quince took one last survey of the ship and tied himself in.
What Gene Hackman called his audition chapter, the one that got them started, is a storm scene, inspired by his own experience, weathering a typhoon in the South Pacific.
The seawater came over the bow in housefulls. It hit the quarterdeck, then burst upon the sailors on the main deck, all tethered in their spots, helpless to ward off the tons of water. Jack could hear screams as the men gasped for air and prepared themselves for the next wave.
Hackman and Lenehan, the two diving buddies, couldn't resist writing diving into the book. Diving as their characters would have improvised it 200 years ago.
How much of this book is the two of you bringing something out of your own past?
A lot more than we realized at the time. It's funny that we've both talked about that since it's finished. And we both realized that we had similar early backgrounds.
Hackman quit school at 16 and joined the Marines at the end of World War II. Dan Lenehan, too, left home at 16 to go to college. A kid from the Lower East Side of New York City, he found himself in Greensboro, North Carolina, just in time to get swept into the civil rights movement.
Became a very turbulent time for me. I got kicked out of school eventually, went on the road, became Jack Kerouac for a year and a half.
Who did you think you were writing for?
I suppose I was writing for my mother. I don't know. My father was a pressman in the newspaper. My grandfather was a reporter, as was my uncle. So she always wanted me to be a little better than my dad, to try to achieve a little higher level.
And that's been ringing in your ear?
That's been ringing in my ear for a while, and I think maybe I resolved that.
And being a writer then goes back to the source of the writers in your family?
Yes.
An astonishing assessment of his own achievement from a man who always wanted to be an actor, even as a child in Danville, Illinois. From someone who's made something like 70 movies, who's won 2 Academy Awards, an actor's actor.
When he fires that, take out your pistols and shoot him down like the mangy scoundrel he is.
Among the characters he's created, Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, Harry Call in The Conversation.
God, not this woman.
Unforgettable roles that have secured his place in cinema history.
One could say, you know, that I have achieved some manner of success, but it's like the difference between being a doctor and a lawyer and being maybe a laborer or something. You know, that I feel that in some ways that my efforts at being an actor are so all instinctive, and that I hadn't really maybe paid my dues in terms of my contribution to the firmament.
The Wake of the Perdido Star is selling well, but has had mixed reviews.
The fact that you're being judged on your intelligence and your skill as a writer and your skill as a storyteller, that was very tense for me.
And being criticized.
And being criticized and finding that you're vulnerable to the critics in a way that I hadn't experienced before.
But Hackman and Lenahan would be willing to try another novel.
And in terms of us writing together, again, we've talked about it. We have some ideas, but Dan is currently writing a nonfiction book, and I'm just kind of getting old.
But at 67, Gene Hackman shows no signs of slowing down, even though he's been telling interviewers for years he's planning to do less acting.
We took the path. By my house, like always.
A soon-to-be-released thriller called Under Suspicion with Morgan Freeman is one of 3 films he worked on last year.
There was no heartbeat, no heartbeat, no heartbeat.
You act, you paint, you dive, you write books. What else is on that list?
Well, I'm a pilot, and I've raced cars, and you know, I've done a number of things like that.
Like the roles he chooses, the life he chooses is varied and deliberately challenging.
I need the diversity. I couldn't, I don't think I could stay here all the time. Can you get it? Come on.
He seems uneasy living just one life. Gene Hackman is, after all, the man who dared himself to write a book and then wrote one.
Come on. Where's Dutch, huh? There's Bonnie. Come on.